Hi there! Today we will be sketching this fluffy chair in several options and using just the Procreate brushes, and I will show you how to get these different results and to inspire you maybe to experiment more. And it's also a nice way to fill the pencil, fill your brushes and the form of the chair. So I go and create a new canvas. I will be using a square format 250 by 250 millimeters. I will go to the sketching area and select the Procreate pencil. It may be not the best pencil, and you may have your own preferences, but I will use it just for the purpose of this video. I go to the canvas section and turn on the reference image, and in my photo gallery I already have the reference photo. I will put the window here, scale it down, and I will start by putting a rough sketch on my canvas. Maybe it is worth mentioning that first of all I analyze the picture and its dimensions. So if we look attentively at the reference, the half of the chair equals the half, the down part of the chair equals the half with the body or the back of the chair. So this will be equal parts. And first sketch is really rough. This is a leg landing somewhere here, and I see that this ear should be lower, and now the cushion. Just a bit longer. So I follow the perspective lines that I have in my head, or I'm trying to reproduce from the picture. I see that the cushion should be a bit fluffier or higher. So less perspective distortion there. And I see now that my ears are maybe disproportional and should be a bit scaled down. So I will select with the lasso tool my back of the chair like that, and then I will go to the arrow here, and without snapping or magnetics on with freeform, I will just push them down like that. And maybe like that. So now I like it, but I don't have a lot of space here left to make the poof. So I will uniformly scale my chair and put it somewhere in here. Okay, and now we'll continue with the poof. I continue those perspective lines. They don't need to be perfect, just to understand your shapes. You can try several times to do that, and I see that the poof is slightly lower, so somewhere here is the poof height. It reminds me of the loaf of bread, the form of this poof. And in perspective that I sketched here, we won't see the leg there, or almost won't see the leg there. So now it's time to create a new layer, but first of all we are going to put the opacity lower for this layer, and on the new one, using exactly the same pencil, we will follow the form and we will trace the chair, but with a distorted line like that, to suggest the fluffiness of the chair. Again, I remind that I tap 2 times on the screen to undo my lines. So right now I'm tracing the shape of my chair. The wood doesn't need to have that fluffy line, so we make it straight. We suggest the thickness of the leg and also the small felt things that are put on the legs not to scratch the surface. And also our chair here has some seams, so we suggest them, but not pressing too hard on the pencil. We're suggesting where the seam goes. Also to define the form a little bit more and to suggest even more fluffiness of the material used on this stool. So that our sketch could also be a final picture even without color. Here we repeat the procedure. And the legs then with the straight lines. And now we can delete or switch off the layer underneath and get started with the coloring, or maybe defining just a little bit the seam here, and I don't like how the form falls there, so I will erase that line. Now it's too straight. Yes. So right now my background is too bright, it's too white. So I make it a little bit darker. Then I would like to introduce some floor using any brush and any color that you prefer. Go on a new layer underneath our sketch, and just with some artistic brush strokes we add the floor. So here I used the Blackburn brush, some random color. The opacity of the brush is not too bright to have it semi-transparent. Now I want to delete, as several of my sketches will be also semi-transparent. I don't need this background here overlapping with my form, so with freehand selection I just delete it. And grabbing out of the canvas, like that. Then I don't really care whether my legs are full twist color or not, because that layer, the legs will be on their own layer, and they will be used in every other sketch of the chair, and they won't be transparent. So I pick the color from the reference photo, and I can stay with this brush actually, just putting the opacity to 100% and the brush to a smaller. It's a big brush, it's a broad brush, and I fill in with the brightest color, not caring too much if I step outside of the sketch. It should be artistic in a way, it shouldn't be. Our goal for today is not to achieve any photorealism or anything like that, but more to feel the form of the chair, to be able to sketch something like that on our own and make it look nice. So I color in all the legs. If you don't really like how it ended up, you select the eraser and then clean it up. I think that it will be sticking just a bit there. Yes, so much better. Like that, and we can delete it anyway if we don't like it. Then I put the layer to alpha lock to be able to work on the wood texture, and I will need some darker option of this wood color for the legs there in the dark there. I put the opacity lower, and I just suggest where I have the shadows. And on this photo it's hard to decide because it's obviously a studio light, and when we look at the legs we see that the shadows are going random directions. That's actually not what we want, so we want to decide from which direction comes our light, and I think it would be nice if it comes somewhere from top right. Considering that, we can create another layer, put it under our legs, but on top of the floor, suggested floor. Then we go to artistic, no, airbrushing, soft brush, and we'll select some warm color, not too dark, and with opacity to 66, somewhere like that. I will suggest a shadow. So if it's the sun going that way, we will see the shadows overlapping, maybe like that way. And then also the shadows from the legs, those would need to be more defined. So I put the brush to almost the smallest, not that small, and then opacity down. A bit bigger brush and opacity down. And we will define just a bit more where the shadows of our legs go. So this is much better already. I just want to put the opacity of this layer a bit lower. So mainly with the airbrush, with the soft brush, you can achieve the softest shadows, the diffused shadows, and they're usually quite nice, but depends on your goals. Further, we get back to the legs, to the brush that we were using, and it was in the drawing section, the backburn. We will stick to that brush. I like the color here and the opacity, and I will just put the size to the smallest one, and I will draw the lines here, suggesting that it is wood. And then playing with the color a bit more. It doesn't need to be too bright. It's quite nice like that. And now I will go to the hue saturation, and I will put the saturation of the legs a bit down and the brightness a bit up, so it's now not too saturated and quite nice. Okay, we ended. We will not get back to the legs anymore. Create another layer, and now we will use the Finalizing brush to play with the shape of the armchair. And here the opacity is rather low, the size of the brush is rather high to fill the most of the area. And I will select the same brush for my eraser to get the painting effect. Okay, now on the new layer we start painting. This might be too big, so a bit lower. And again, without caring too much about crossing the borders of the drawing, we just fill in the shape, and you see the brush is already nice and it is so fluffy, it suggests the form. And actually all the brushes in this area are rather alike, the drawing area, and they will give you the same feeling, I would say. But I will show you another great brush that I loved for this particular chair just a bit later. So we have the form, and now we need to deepen it up to make it voluminous, to add more volume to the object. So I see here that it is in the shadow, and as well, if we suggest here that here comes the light, this part and this part will be in the shadow, or a bit shadowed. And I want to erase this small part here. Yes. Here, this ear will give the shadow on the bottom, on the seating. And they actually follow the form of the chair. want to make it a bit, just a bit warmer. Putting opacity way down. By adding more colors, you're making the shape of the chair and the chair itself more voluminous. You can pick the colors from your chair, or you can just pick whatever you like, whatever you feel, however you see the color from there. So I need to add the volume or the thickness of the ears. Again, I don't care at all whether I'm stepping out of the form of the chair, because I can erase it a bit later. And then I make the brush even smaller, and I add the shadows there, the joint part of the leg, between the leg and the material. Here we have more shadows. I see it a bit warmer there, so I will add a bit more warmer colors. And now it's actually time for the highlights. I go white to the white color. And it's a fluffy chair, so no straight lines. So this is option 1. And what I will add here on the layer above the outline, using the same pencil and then the white color, I will go and add some of the fluffy lines there. I think the outline layer can be also a bit toned down, so the opacity about 70%, 75%. Okay, not too much, but to give the contrast, and especially on this arm that is having the most of the light coming. And also to highlight the wood. And here on the poof. And this layer will stay here also for all other options. Like that. Okay, so this was option 1. And mainly we will only switch off this layer, add another one, and try out another brush or a different approach. So we will go to painting area, for example, and we will use gouache brush. And then in the history we'll see the color that we used. We use some neutral, opacity down, huge size, a new layer, and we just fill the form. Okay, with gouache brush we can use more opacity or less opacity. Maybe this color is too gray, so we will warm it up. And mixing more colors does only good things to our sketch, making it more sophisticated. So like that, just more warms, more yellow colors here, yellow orangey, like that. Now we will go and work a bit on the shadows. So this part of the poof is darker because it's standing against the light. Now it seems a bit dirty color, but we will change it later. The main thing here is to feel the form and to go along with it. So the bottom part of the chair is darker. This is totally dark. It's a shadow there. And again, you can use any brush from the stacks and just experiment with it and see what you will get, what the result. And I will show you a completely flat brush later on without any texture to it, and we will still get the fluffy result on our sketch. Okay, so this is too gray, and we need to add the color at the warms. Okay, that may be too much. And I added dark color here first, and now I lighten it up. And then still I need some darkness here because it's shadow part in the end. Now working on the highlight area. And then again, the darker. And you see I'm rather playful with colors. Also experimenting, having fun, picking the color I like and blending those all together. And I think this one is also almost ready. We just need to add some more definition, some more deep shadows. And then a bit more of highlights. So here I want to highlight a little bit more to show that there is a curvature of the form. So here we don't get a lot of light, but then on the inner part that is curving inside of the chair, we got the light there. And you see, when we're adding a bit of lighter color there, the ear, it gets thicker, as well as here on the border line of the back and the chair, we need to have the lighter color, and that we actually suggested with the pencil. But still, that's how we get our volume, and a bit, just a bit darker here. Okay, now I think our second option is ready. So the first one was this, was very fluffy. The second, this. And then now we go to the third option. Oh, what brush was that? Not this one. Yeah, this one. The brush, I like it very much. The way how it behaves, how it blends. Yes, I'm on the new color, on the new layer. So I make the size bigger and I fill in the form. You see, it blends nicely. And it already feels like it's getting more volume there. And now we are just working with one color. And when you push your pencil harder, the color becomes darker. But the blending of this brush is just gorgeous. I repeat, it's gloaming. So I will need to add several more tints, and this will be it. It was a very quick way to color this armchair. Sometimes you can just do that one, put spots, and it will create the volume. And just a bit of warmth. And then highlights. Just like that. And this was our third option. And the last one will be a very alternative one. So we will begin on the new layer, selecting with the free hand the outline of our chair, and we are trying to repeat that distorted fluffy line. And it's better maybe that you go beyond the lines then you stay within. And the same for the poof. And now we switch on color fill and select some neutral color. Now I see that we have some extra here, which we don't need. I deleted it, erased, and now alpha lock to the layer. Now I will select a very flat brush. It is in our painting section, flat brush. And what's so particular about this brush? It's when you push harder on it, it will feel, oh, that's pretty big size. When you push harder, it fills the color smoothly, or no, not smoothly, it's not the right word. It is full with color. And when you don't push it too hard, it's transparent. You see? So the trick here is not to push too hard. And to add some variety to our chair. Here I introduce a bit of the dark, and the nice thing that I can sketch here around the shape, and I will never step outside of the borders because our layer is on the alpha lock. So I deepen the colors down. Even more here. And then more. I want to warm the colors up to add more warm colors. And now we are going to start to lighten it up. Just bit by bit. So you see, the flat brush right now doesn't suggest that we have that fabric. So we will start working on that in a bit. I put the size of the brush lower and I start making this roundy movements on my shape, not pressing too hard, because I remember that this brush introduces a lot of color when you push harder on it. Here in the dark, in the shadow area, I can go a bit harder on the brush. So everywhere. Even in the lightest areas. Somewhere you press harder and it's okay. Now I go to the light. You see our chair right now is rather dark. That's why that white layer seems too striking, too white, because all our previous versions were not that full of color, they were semi-transparent. So we will lighten up some of the areas. We will even go more to the direction of white, and also we'll add those round fluffy lines just next to those dark areas that you suggested earlier. That's not a good thing, definitely. And a bit more of those spots, dots in the lighter areas, and absolutely no in the darkest. So like that. And now, oh shit, sorry, we used not the right layer for that, for the lighter areas, so I will need to bring that white spaces down, not to undo all the thing, and I will get back to the layer with the color, and I will add more white areas here. And I will lighten up a little bit my chair, just a bit here. And now I think I will go to hue saturation brightness, and I brighten it up there, like that. So at the moment we have 4 different options of our chair. Using just the standard brushes of Procreate, we created the fluffy texture, and I think the result is pretty nice. So put a like if you like that video, and I will be waiting for your comments, which option you liked best, and maybe we will also be willing to share your results. Don't forget to sign. And see you next time.